Ragnarok Online attack names according to Bibo. Magnus Exorcismus. Sonic Blue. Assassin. Oh, he's an assassin. Needs to be quiet. Sonic Blue. Bowling Bash. Yeah, I'm a knight. What is up, button mashers, min-maxers, speedrunners, and rage quitters? My name is Bibo Reyes. Welcome to Unblockable, the best new video game show around. If you were growing up in the Philippines in the mid-2000s and had access to a computer shop near your school, then you've probably at least heard about Ragnarok Online. Since its release in 2003, the MMORPG has managed to maintain a robust player base, albeit now across multiple platforms. Players have the option of choosing between the 17-year-old classic Ragnarok Online and now its more pocket-sized counterpart, Ragnarok M Eternal Love, better known as Ragnarok Mobile. At its peak, Ragnarok Online boasted 57,000 concurrent users, making it for the Philippines what World of Warcraft has been for the West. It was so popular over here that in 2008, the Philippines was the host for the annual Ragnarok World Championship. Recently, Ragnarok Online saw an official server re-release in 2018, while Ragnarok Mobile was met with over 5 million downloads upon its release into the Philippine market. There are two new Ragnarok Mobile IPs that are in closed beta testing in Ragnarok Mobile First Love and Ragnarok Mobile First Generation, while a sequel to the original called Ragnarok Online 2 Legend of the Sword has been cancelled, giving us a hint as to what the developer's focus may be moving forward in an ever-changing and growing gaming landscape. Many players live stream their playthroughs of Ragnarok Online, as MMORPGs tend to lend themselves to extended hours of play wherein a lot of engaging content may be mined. Okay, so Ragnarok Mobile and Ragnarok, let's call it Classic for now. Two sides of the same coin that I'm not too familiar with, but here to help me with that are our two guests. Our first guest, you met her in our very first episode. She is back, and we're going to see a lot more of her for the rest of the show. But here is a model, a cosplayer, and she was also an English teacher. And when she's not doing that, she is creating content centered around video games. Please welcome back Maria Bovel, aka Sillykonpeito. Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Sillykonpeito. You know what? I hope you're not offended by this, but Sillykonpeito is like a really long nickname. Is there anything we can do about that? Can I call you like SK or Peito or something?
Yeah, that's fine. Actually, some of my followers actually do call me like that.
Okay, I'll call you SK from now on.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. So you're an English teacher, right? I'm curious. What level of English do you teach?
Actually, I teach from preschoolers up until college students. It depends on what they need.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I kind of customize what I teach based on their age range.
Have you ever, do you have any experience teaching to non-English speakers?
Yes. Some of my current students are actually non-English speakers.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So you are here today to talk about Ragnarok Mobile, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for coming back. Can't wait to hear your perspective on this game. And our next guest, he is a YouTuber, a vlogger, a fisherman, which I am very, very curious about. And he also used to be a licensed nurse. He also has a very popular YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers, where he is known for his comedic commentaries during his Let's Play streams. Everyone, please welcome Gian Lois Concepcion, aka Gloco.
Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Gloco. Hello.
What is up, man? How are you?
What up? I am doing fine. Hope you're doing fine too.
That's good. Okay. So yeah, sorry, I just gotta ask right off the bat. You are a fisherman. I'm so curious because fishing is kind of like a bucket list thing for me. I fished like once, but it was in like an artificial lake where, you know, they just give you a stick with line. I've never fished with like tackle and stuff, but I've seen your catches on your social media and stuff, and I'm so impressed, and I am I'm a little noticed me senpai with you right now because of that, because of the fishing. The most fishing I've done in the last 2 years of my life was as Noctis in FF15. So,
Oh,
what can you tell me about fishing? How did you get into that?
okay. So fishing was actually a childhood dream of mine, which is kind of weird for when a lot of people hear that. Like, what? Really? You wanted to fish? I remember. Here's one super core memory from my childhood back in grade 3. People were asking or doing introductions like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And then with a lot of conviction, I told everyone in class that I want to be a fisherman. And then everyone laughed, and I didn't understand why, like why. And then when I grew up, that's when I understood.
Who's
that
laughing now?
People actually, who's laughing now? But they were looking down on my dream, 'cause, fishermen and all that. But hey, I only got into actual fishing or angling, just a year ago. That was a year ago, just because I finally have like the resources and time to actually fish, and well, it's an understatement when I say that I'm addicted to it. If I'm not fishing, I'm thinking about it. And yeah, by the way, FF15 is currently like this generation's it's my gold standard for actual
For
angling,
fishing, right?
Fishing. Yes.
It's that
Super
FF15,
impressed
that
with it.
fishing game has some pretty good battle moments, you know.
It does. Yep.
And I like
actually played for
the
fishing.
exactly. I like the
Yeah.
touch with the fisherman cap as well. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so Ragnarok Online, or RO for short, a very, very popular MMORPG, especially here in the Philippines. Again, I remember it from way back in the day. I'm not going to say what level of education I was at when it first got popular because I don't want to age myself, but I know that you two guys are going to help this old dude get his head wrapped around RO again. Let's start with SK. What can you tell us about Ragnarok Mobile? How is it? How is it different? How is it new? What is it about? Did the art style change? Did any of the graphics change?
For Ragnarok Mobile, it has the same design as the original game or the classic one, but it has a more upgraded 3D characters and environment. It also has like this colorful art style that makes the game very enjoyable and super fun to look at. At the same time, the auto attack mechanics are actually very easier this time. So you can actually do the auto attack in a much faster and much more ease of access kind of way. And then it can also be played at around 60 frames per second, and it's very smooth, especially if your mobile phone can handle it. You can also play it on an emulator in a laptop or a PC, but since it is Ragnarok Mobile, the best way to actually play the game is on your phone. And it's actually a bit, it has a time limit of around 450 minutes per day. But yeah, you can just extend your game time by listening to the music, or just actually going around the map and stuff like that. And as long as your mobile phone's battery can handle it, you can play for as long as you want. And compared to the Ragnarok Classic, your character in Ragnarok Mobile can actually do emotes and dance. So that's something that's very interesting for a lot of gamers because it's something new, something fresh, and at the same time, it's kind of one of those cosmetic things that makes it much more fun to play.
You personally, what made you click download when you were in the App Store or the Play Store when you saw Ragnarok Mobile? Did you remember it from the original game, or did something about the art style and the aesthetic appeal to you? Because it's clearly like an anime inspired. So that type of thing is really popular here in the Philippines. What was it about it that was the initial hook for you?
The initial hook for me is actually the nostalgia factor, because I'm like, wow, okay, I can finally play Ragnarok anywhere I go, like even if I'm stuck in traffic, or if I'm going to a shoot or going to like a meeting. I have my phone with me, so I can just play it anytime I want. at the same time, the people around me that time, like my coworkers, some of my friends, were also playing Ragnarok Mobile. So
Okay.
we can't deny the fact that Ragnarok actually started a lot of friendships because of their guild system back then.
I see. Awesome. Yeah, I do remember a lot of people were super. I never got too deep into it, but I remember a lot of people were super into Ragnarok, and it's nice to see, I guess, that it's something that can build a community. Okay, so like I said earlier, it's Ragnarok's style is a little anime-ish, right? And that's anime is just something that's ingrained in our culture somewhat as Filipinos, oddly, right? I'd say for the last 10 years or more, even like 15 years or so, it's just snowballed into this whole thing. Maria, your handle is a Japanese term, Sillykonpeito, and Gloco, you're wearing a haori right now. So yeah, the otaku anime culture is just such a big deal here in the Philippines. Gloco, what about you? Ragnarok Classic. What are your memories of it? Do you remember? If you can recall, what was your very first experience with it? Was it because of the anime style? Is that what you liked? I know it was already, it's been popular for a while, but what is it about the original classic core Ragnarok game that you think is appealing to people, and what makes it appealing to you?
Okay, so where do I even start? Like, I'm not ashamed to like tell you guys that I started Ragnarok Online back in 3rd grade. Yeah, that's how old I am right now. Do the math. But let's just say that Ragnarok Online was the very first MMORPG that I really got into. Actually, it's probably the first MMORPG I've ever played. So I remember.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and it was
Not
a
RuneScape?
crazy.
No RuneScape for you?
More actually, no RuneScape for me. Like no RuneScape, no Diablo, no MU, nothing. It was Ragnarok Online. It was everywhere. You can see posters and walls.
Yeah.
You can see advertisements on television. It was really marketed really well. And that was back then when Ragnarok Online was still pay to play. Like you had to buy those 50 peso, 100 peso cards just to play
cards.
8 hours.
Yes.
So I was in that generation. Yes, you guys are so lucky. You guys get to play games for free anytime. So, and considering that people were so addicted to it to the point that they were willing to pay 50 pesos just for 8 or 4 hours of playing Ragnarok Online, and then they had to kids had to pay like 20 pesos more for 1 hour in the comm shop. That was how crazy Ragnarok Online was, and it was like kind of like our driving force every day when we go to school. Like we go back, we go to after school. We go to the comm shop, we play 2 hours of Ragnarok Online without even knowing what we're doing. We're just playing, we're having fun, we're dying, we're grinding. And then the next day in school, we all talk about it, what's going to happen, and we plan our next party session. It was so good. It was like one of the peaks of childhood online social interaction for kids like me back then. So that was how crazy Ragnarok Online was. So, but in terms of like the appeal, like I didn't really start playing it because of it was cute looking, although it was like chibi anime 2D art style blending with 3D backgrounds. Like I wasn't really paying attention to that detail when I was a kid, but when I think about it right now, like wow, it actually still works still now. It's super timeless, old but gold mechanic. But it was more of I got into it because everybody else was playing it. Like if you're not playing Ragnarok Online, what the heck are you doing? it was something like that. And yeah, that's how I remember Ragnarok Online. And until now, that experience still sticks to me. I mean, to the point that I got scammed. That was my first memory of getting scammed Like my schoolmate asked me like, okay, what's your
Oh,
username?
no.
Ano username mo? And because it was my first MMORPG. Like I was so innocent and pure, and I'm like, I trust everyone. Okay. And then ano username? I told him, okay, my username is like Nave Takumi. And then, okay, what's your password? And I gave him my password. And then the next day, all my items were gone, and I was crying.
All of them were gone.
And I'm like, what happened? And that's when my
crazy.
trust issues started. So yeah, it's like lots of core memories with Ragnarok Online. That's how
Never the
great
same
this game
again.
was. Never the same again.
That's how Gloco was born.
Yes. So I have countless memories. I could go on and on with this, but
Yeah,
that's
I can tell, dude. I can tell. Man, and I like that you mentioned that they decided to go with 2D sprites for the characters on a 3D background. There's something about that style that appeals to me. Off the top of my head, I remember like Xenogears, and there's probably a Breath of Fire or two that's that style. I like how it preserves. There's something just charming about sprites, right? We all love sprites. Like it's such a distinct icon of video gaming. Okay, so Ragnarok Online, whether classic or mobile, as we know, is an MMORPG. For those who don't know, that means massively multiplayer online role-playing game, which means when we say RPG, we think of stats, we think of damage points, we think of HP, we think of levels. And since you guys are both content creators when it comes to video games, right? There's been this resurgence in an interest in Ragnarok, right? Because of its the way it sort of lends itself to extended hours of play. Like you mentioned, Gloco, you used to buy cards and play for hours, not as the time just went by, right? So because MMORPGs are such a grindy affair, right? For anyone who doesn't know, grinding denotes like putting in time in a game, leveling up your character, earning experience points by doing activities or beating enemies, and so that you can get your level up and get your stats up. So MMORPGs are a very grindy affair. It's a lot of gameplay loops, a lot of doing the same thing over and over again, but having fun at the same time. How do you guys feel about the grind of Ragnarok? What sets it apart? Because that can make or break an MMORPG, right? That's kind of there was a litany of problems with Final Fantasy, the original version of FF14, but one of the things was that it just wasn't fun enough to facilitate grinding. So let's go with Gloco first this time. In the OG game, what was it that compelled you to just go with your friends, with your classmates, except for that one guy who scammed you, to the internet cafes and just grind out RO together? What was it about that experience that made the gameplay loop so compelling for you?
Oh, for me, back when I was a kid, I just played it for the heck of it. Like I wasn't going through metas or anything. I was just playing it. I think I was stuck in level 15 for like a month and stuff because I don't know what was I doing, but I was having fun with it. Back when we were kids, we weren't really paying attention too much in the details of the game. You just want to be online. You just want to be with people, actual people. Playing the same game, you're sharing the same world, and yet you guys don't really know who's who, but they're there. And back when I was a kid, that was something that appealed to me. Like I was more of like an introvert. Like I didn't really like talking with people, but there was something about video games. Like it was my comfort zone. So even though I was just playing in front of the PC and then just walking around Frontera, like I would spend 1 hour in Frontera just looking for things interesting. Like I didn't really care, and then I would just go and grind some caves and stuff. But what do you call this? When it comes to grinding, wasn't really paying attention to that. But after, I think around college time, when I revisited Ragnarok Online, like private servers, that's when when the grinding system really hit me. Because back then we were kids, we didn't really think about time and stuff. We had all the time in the world. After school, forget about homework, Ragnarok muna. Okay, Ragnarok Online right away. But back in college, like, you had to shuffle your what do you call this? Your schoolwork and all that. So my time was pretty limited. You were very conscious of your time. So when I was super conscious with my time, that's when grinding kind of sucked to me with Ragnarok Online. Like, wow, Ragnarok Online is actually high risk, high rewards, and there's a lot of meta involved in it. Like, there are places where you can grind from level 1 to level 70 so easily and so efficiently, without too much risk. But then there are also other areas or other maps where grinding with a party is a whole lot efficient. And then once you reach level 80, you have to go to this map then. And then every map is like catered to a certain job class. Like, if you're a knight, you go to the Sphinx. If you're an alchemist, you just sit back and relax in the orc dungeons. If you were a hunter, you go to the geomancers and all that. There was so many things that I didn't really see back then when I was a kid. But when you get older, that's when you get really serious about the game. Although it didn't really spoil the fun, though. It's just something that you get more competitive as you go. Yeah. And I think that's also part of the charm, actually. Like, most MMORPGs right now is kind of, well, I wouldn't say easy, but there are things like that. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Ragnarok Online Mobile has like an auto farming feature.
It does.
Yes, and yep. Back then in Classic, we call that botting, and we look down on that so much. But then again, like, it's okay now. MMO, ROM has auto farming, so you can bot legally. And all that, but back then that was looked down upon.
Everything you just said about your experience with how it was just, it sounds like it was just such an organic progression when it comes to RO for you, right? And I feel like that's something like in pitch meetings when companies who make MMOs want to talk about the user experience that they want to facilitate. That's exactly what they want, is that for you to not realize how much time you're putting into the game just because you enjoy it so much, and not thinking like, oh, I gotta do this so that I can get up to this level, blah blah blah. It's just playing the game because the game itself is fun. I remember I just want to get this in because this is my one Ragnarok story that in the very limited time that I played it when I was younger. So my character was a healer. I decided I wanted to be a support character. I wanted to be a healer. And then I designed, because in Ragnarok, right, you can customize your character's look. That's essentially one of the draws of MMORPGs, is you create your own character, and they have these really expansive and extensive customization structures, right? I remember I made him have like this emo haircut that was red. Like this red emo haircut style. And I remember I was walking around whatever town, like central town area it was at the time, and I saw another healer who was sitting. You know how in Ragnarok you can like Indian sit or like sit down or whatever.
Press in.
I saw another healer who was sitting down, who looked exactly like me, except his red emo hair was parted on the other side. So I went up next to him, and I sat down next to him, and we were like this Gemini pair of red-haired healers. He was like, "What's up? Hey, cool. Yeah, nice hair. Yeah, cool." And we were just sitting there like healing random people who could drop by. I don't know if that's a false memory, but I remember like we were just there like, who needs a heal? Okay, you get a heal. You get a heal. That's my one Ragnarok story. I have no more. I just wanted to get that one in. Okay, thank you so much, Gloco, for that perspective on Ragnarok Classic. Let's move on to ROM. As I just learned, it's more commonly called. So there's an auto farming system. For any mobile game, like one of the draws, right, SK, is that it facilitates on-the-go play. Yeah. You got your Nintendo Switch right now, where you can just pick it up and take the game with you. Back in the day, it was the absolute best day when I finally got my GBA, my Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy was such a great thing to just have in your pocket and be able to play any game you want. But these days, everything is on your phone, and phones are powerful enough to run some pretty good looking games, if we're being honest. So there's that on the go factor that Ragnarok Mobile has going for it, diba? So SK, how would you describe the user experience of Ragnarok Mobile when it comes to that?
Okay, so for Ragnarok Mobile, it's more of there's a lot of things they did with the ease of access part. So it's much more easier to play it on the go or like when you're streaming and stuff like that because everything's just there. You don't need to do a lot of things so that you can activate this spell, you can cast this, you can check this part, etc. They even have like markers on the map for the quests that you need to do, and at the same time it also has like a built-in guide, like build for where you want to allocate your stats, so if it's like gonna all go to int or to strength, etc. When you're not playing the game, you have pets in the game that can actually do the leveling for you, so they can go on adventures without you. So at the same time, so when you're streaming, so one of the things that I see a lot of streamers do is they actually place the game on auto farm so that they can engage more with the audience. So again, you're not like 100% glued to the keyboard. So unlike in Classic, wherein you have to memorize a lot of different combos for the keyboards, especially if you're doing PvP.
Yeah.
Or else that's gonna make or break if your team is gonna win the PvP. So again, it's more of an ease of access kind of thing. So you can do so many things, and you can also play it on the go.
All right. So, you know what? You mentioned ease of access, right? And that clearly is a selling point for mobile games in general. My perspective on it is it's kind of like a game. MMORPGs are games that you can sort of like play without having to think about it too much, which I feel like relates to both of the ways you described each game. Because Gloco, you said that in Ragnarok you're just doing it and you're not realizing that you're having so much fun, whereas with SK with Ragnarok Mobile, you're really not thinking about it because it's more of an ease of access, like convenience thing. What are your thoughts on that? Like how are the two different?
So when it comes to like, I just want to reference what Sillykonpeito with when it comes to ROM, ease of access. That's the main word there, ease of access. Now, considering I can't really blame ROM for the ease of access, the auto farming, and making the game a whole lot easier for everyone. Because we're talking about Ragnarok Online. It's a game from way back, and most of it's mostly targeted towards people from back then. So we're talking about professionals now. We're talking about people my age who doesn't really have time anymore, who has to go to work, and then what do you call it? They have to go. You have to be on the go, so they have to spend like every bit of time or free time they have to have fun, which is with what do you call this? ROM. And knowing just how grindy Ragnarok is, like it's kind of like a godsend to have what do you call this? An auto farming thing. And then there's a reason why botting was kind of a thing back then in RO Classic, because there are a lot of lazy people out there. And to be honest, I've also thought of botting as, like, for example, like, I'm so tired of grinding. Like, you get tired. Even as a kid, you get tired. Once you already know how the ins and outs of the game, you start to see how tedious grinding is. And when you realize that, that's when you start thinking that there has to be an easier way to do this. Okay, except for like just to grind, just to what do you call this, farm, level up, so that I can put all of my energy into like boss fights, into guild wars, agit wars, if you guys still call it like that, and what do you call this, or going on adventures with your party mates. But let's say, for example, your party mates are not there and you're just too tired to like grind on your own. It would have been awesome to have like an auto farm feature. I gotta be honest with that. However, I do get you, Sir Bebo, when it comes to like, let's say for what do you call it? Until now, like I don't have any regrets of what do you call this, not doing like botting on or auto farming. It kind of built up my philosophy when it comes to like gaming. Like I want to work hard for it. I want to immerse myself in every bit I can when it comes to playing any type of game. Like, is it okay if I reference like a game right now, another game?
Go ahead, man.
Okay. So like currently I'm Genshin Impact.
Oh my god.
Genshin Impact. I am so addicted to that game right now. Not just because of the anime aesthetics, but it's open world. It gives me like the sense of adventure. You're going through every nook and cranny. You're discovering new things, and that's something that what do you call this? That really gets me into a certain game, especially RPG games or MMO. Back then when I was playing Ragnarok Classic, I just like walking around. I want to see what's happening. Like, cause anything can happen anytime. Like for example, you're just walking in Frontera, you're just sitting around, and then looking through the merchants and all that, and then next thing you know, someone popped up a dead branch, and then everyone's dying all around. It's pretty crazy, and then everyone's just spamming emotes and stuff. It was pretty cool. Like it's just the sense of uncertainty really gets you going. Also, Sillykonpeito mentioned combos in PvP. So that's something that goes even deeper when it comes to like this type of MMOs. Like you're seeing a cute ass anime style 3D backgrounds, but then again when you go to PvP, like oh my god, everyone has like 3 sets or 3 rows of buttons to press. Especially for monks, like they start teleporting everywhere. Next thing you know, you're gone. They're gone, and next thing you know, you're dead. That's just it really impressed me. Like, how do people do that? It's those type of things that really gets me going when it comes to like these MMORPGs. And
honestly, when it comes to MMOs, when I see the UI, I'm just like, there are so many buttons. There's so
Yeah,
much.
that's true.
I mean,
Like, how am I gonna wrap my head around this?
actually, for me, the UI of Ragnarok Online Classic was pretty simple. It was easy to navigate. It's just that hardcore players make it harder for themselves.
Okay.
They like more buttons. They want to press more things. The other thing that really immerses you back in Ragnarok Online Classic, which I think ROM still has it, the guild system. That was like peak social interactions with large groups back then in online gaming. You join a guild and you're so proud of it. Like even though wala namang ambag, you don't really do anything about it. You die right away, but you just get this this sense of duty being in a guild. And every week you look forward for the guild wars. That's it. Like if you miss the guild wars, you'll cry. That's what I did. Like I got grounded. Guild wars was happening. It was supposed to be the biggest guild wars. We were defending like 2 castles, and then my grandmother was like, hey, you've been so naughty and you haven't done your homework all this time. You've been sitting around, computer ka na lang ng computer, wala ka nang ginagawang iba. And then she disconnected the internet, and I was crying, and I was like, no! And then the next day I would say sorry to my guild master, like sorry GM, lola ko pinagalitan ako and all that. And then the sense of duty is also there because your guild master actually gives you like a salary after guild wars. Like,
Oh wow.
you line up, they give you like a sueldo. So it's giving you like a taste
Of in-game currency or
yeah, in-game currency, of course.
okay.
In-game currency.
Okay.
So it was giving you like a sense of like this is probably how the real world works. Like you do a job and you get paid for it.
And actually,
It's like-
some guilds consider their guilds as like family of sorts. So they actually go to offline meetups. Like there was a lot of offline meetups back then, and like whenever I couldn't go to an offline meetup, I'm like, oh, okay, everyone's having fun. Nice, I'm all alone. And that's a system that they still continued in Ragnarok Mobile. So I do understand, like, why would you watch someone who's just doing auto farming and then you don't get to like play the game itself? But for those who actually did play the game and there's a nostalgia feel to it, actually seeing the auto farm is like, okay, that's an easier way of leveling up. So whenever PvP happens or like guild wars happen, it's much more easier because you have a higher level by then, and at the same time you get to interact with the people who actually did play the game before. So when it's on auto farm, you see a lot of people just coming into chat and they're like, hey, what's this game? Or like, hey, I played this game before, what are your builds, blah blah blah. Because sometimes it's actually hard to talk to your community while you're super immersed in a certain game. Like it's super hard, especially if like it's a very important thing in the game. So like for example, if you're in a MOBA
Sure.
game, you're in a clash, you can't exactly like look at chat while in a clash. But like in ROM, it makes it easier because of the auto farm, and since a lot of the things are also easier to access and easier to play, a lot of people share their builds, share their stats on chat. So that's something that a lot of content creators actually capitalize on, because they can actually share their builds as well.
Mm.
Like okay, if you're a monk, or if you're a thief, you can build your character like this, you can build your character like that. And funny that Gloco mentioned Genshin Impact, because it's actually what's different from ROM and RO Classic, because the quests and side quests are already in the map, so you don't get to explore that much, unlike in RO Classic and maybe in Genshin, wherein you just explore the world, like do what you want. There's a main quest line, but like you can do what you want with the world. And at the same time, microtransactions in ROM, so many microtransactions.
Right. That's actually something I wanted to ask you guys about, because like lately in the video game sphere, right, that term of games as a service has been kind of looming over the industry as of late, right? We see the new Avengers game sort of going through some turbulent times because of its nature as a game as a service. It's still such an odd term to me. It's kind of like a thing in the gaming world right now, right? The gamers will sort of like groan at a game that's clearly just out to take your money, really. A lot of like lighter, let's say, mobile games do that, where it's free to download, but like it essentially bars your progress by making certain tasks just so impossible without having to shell out some cash. I'll be honest and say that model has worked on me from time to time, because a game sinks its hooks into you, and you're like, all right, I've made it this far, I might as well, it's 500 pesos lang naman or whatever, right? So games as a service will always entail microtransactions. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? How Gloco, you mentioned like we used to buy cards to play Ragnarok back in the day, just to be able to log in. What do you guys think? How does Ragnarok keep its user base loyal, even though you do end up having to make microtransactions when you're playing the game?
So back then, I didn't really know about microtransactions. I thought it was like a normal thing, like you pay to play a game that's actually good. Back then, bandwidth, our internet really sucked. Like I didn't know about servers, but now that I know about servers, I kind of get why they had to like make that system where you had to pay money to buy actual time to play the game. In terms of like game breaking, it wasn't really game breaking for me. That type of system. What's game breaking was the pay to win or microtransaction in the game. So we're talking about god items that you can buy for cash. We're talking about exclusive cash items that other free-to-play players are not really getting, and yet it gives like a lot of advantageous bonuses that they can even use in PvP. So when it comes to microtransactions, I don't mind it as long as it's purely aesthetics. I don't mind it if it's more for like convenience. Like for example, you get more XP when killing a monster and all that. But when the microtransaction goes to like a pay-to-win system where you get super special items that you can use for PvP, then that's where I draw the line. Like, once I see that in a game I'm playing, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with this game. And if any microtransaction that gives you the edge in PvP, I'm done with it. So in terms of microtransactions, I'm good as long as it's purely aesthetics and cosmetics. I mean, there has to be some way to help the developers, right? But at the same time, we don't want to alienate the whole player base by giving unfair advantages to whales or people with a lot of money.
But how is it with the original Ragnarok? Because I remember back in the day, people used to, like in school, right? They'd be like, "Oh, pay me this amount, like actual money, and then I'll give you this item in the game." What's your experience of that in Ragnarok Classic?
Okay. For me, that's pretty good. Okay, it's kind of like human nature, where you worked hard to get this item, to farm this item, and then you see value in it, and you find someone who sees the same value with it, and they're willing to pay money for it. So that's real cash transactions that goes under the table. Like, it's not really allowed in game, but it's just something you do in real life. Like it gets bypassed easily. But for me, that's pretty okay, as long as
And
you
accounts,
got,
right? Like,
yeah. As long as you got that
people,
item.
some people sell whole accounts, right? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's I know a lot of people who would what do you call this, who like earns 50,000 pesos or even more a month back then for classic, just in classic, just grinding for god items and farming them and then selling them to would-be buyers. So that was like a booming business back then for people who were so deep into the Ragnarok online thing. So like I said, if that person got that item for through fair means, then yeah, all is fair game.
SK, what about with mobile? I can imagine, because like I mentioned, right? I've fallen into that trap of that play to win scenario where it's like, oh, I can't get past this without like playing this game for like a whole week straight without doing anything else. I guess I'll just shell out this money. And on your phone, it's so simple, because usually it's just like one tap and your credit card info is all there, and you just tap to buy it. How has ROM maintained its player base while still entailing some microtransactions here and there?
So far it hasn't done like the pay to win scenario. Actually, I have the same stance as Gloco when it comes to like pay to win stuff, because it really destroys the whole the game, in the sense that you worked so hard to reach this level and to get to this amount of power, and then some newbie just comes in with like all of these items from the cash shop, and then just why? Like
Power of money.
Yeah, power of money. It just ruins the experience, and it makes you feel like you worked hard for nothing. And for ROM, what keeps the players hooked is some part of the microtransaction, which is the costume selection. The costumes and hats or headgear is bought using you can buy it using real life money, and you can also use it using in-game currency. So if you have a lot of in-game currency, you can purchase like some of the regular costumes or regular headgear, but they have like a special shop for the more special items to make your character unique from the others. Because again, character customization, a lot of people do spend lots of money for character customization, and the thing about their microtransactions is it's in gacha format.
Oh, okay.
It's in gacha
so you don't know what you're
format.
getting?
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting. So you just go to the town, and then there's like 3 gacha machines there, and then you just pick which machine, and then dump your money in it, and then your headgear or your costume item comes out. So yeah, it keeps them hooked, because if you're a completionist and you want to collect all of the headgears, all of the costume items, you have to keep on placing money there. And at the same time, if you want this certain headgear or certain costume item, but the gacha does not give you said item, you have no choice but to put more money in it so that the gacha will give you said item.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that exactly. That makes me laugh. Makes me laugh that it's a blind buy item, because I'm pretty sure all 3 of us in this chat right now have spent way more time in front of a physical, actual, real world gacha machine than we're proud of. Don't lie. I'm pretty sure you. All right. Well, there you go. That is Ragnarok Classic and Ragnarok Mobile compared and contrasted. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for all your input, for all your insights. You guys clearly know your stuff. Thank you. I appreciate it. Please let everyone know where they can find you, what projects you might be up to right now. SK, let's start with you.
So for me, my upcoming project is I have a set of streams every Wednesday starting next week. So it's in partnership with WWF or World Wildlife Fund. So if you guys do drop by my stream and send donations, the donations will directly go to their partner families for their feeding program, and at the same time it will also go to their environmental education for that area.
That is awesome. That is awesome. It's awesome you're
Cool.
doing that. Where can people
Cool.
find that stream?
They can find the stream on my Facebook page. It's fb.com/Sillykonpeito.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Gloco, what are you up to?
So you guys can find me in youtube.com/Gloco Gaming. I also have a second channel with my homies. It's Pinoy's Place, so youtube.com/Pinoy's Place, where we play a variety of games there. And yeah, I do fishing stuff, I do vlogs, I do games and all that. And I usually stream every midnight and sometimes in the evening in my YouTube channel. I play Genshin Impact, horror games and all that. So you can catch me there.
Okay, real quick, before we let you guys go, can I get one video game recommendation of something that you might be playing right now that we haven't talked about in the show? I know you already mentioned Genshin Impact, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure you play like 10 games all at the same time. So, what games would you guys recommend?
Personally, I would right now I would recommend playing Among Us. It's kind of addicting because you can also have it on the phone. So even if like say I'm cooking like the lunch or dinner, I can like play while cooking. And it's more of a mystery game. So
Yeah.
you get to find out who the imposter is, and it's kind of interesting and very hooking at the same time.
Awesome. What about you, Gloco?
I'm more of a console guy, but other than Genshin Impact, for those who have the PS4 and haven't played Ghost of Tsushima,
Yes.
those who haven't played Sekiro, The Last of Us 2, go start playing those. And what else? I mean, like, on the top of my mind right now, it's like Genshin.
There you go. It's Genshin
It's
Impact.
the one I'm currently playing. Yeah, it's Genshin Impact.
All right.
So I'm currently spending a lot of time there.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you so much again, guys. Really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks for our next episode where you're going to be the guests again. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy. Really excited for that. I will see you guys then. Thank you. All right, so Ragnarok Online Classic versus Ragnarok Mobile. That was a great discussion. Thank you so much to our guests. They clearly know their stuff because, like I said, I'm not too familiar with online multiplayer games, but getting their perspective was great. Now, as to which game might be good for a streamer to start live streaming playthroughs of their games, I've never personally streamed a game, but I have streamed quite a bit online in recent months. And one thing that can be difficult is this, just things zipping by in the chat and you can't pay attention, because one of the biggest keys to a successful live stream is engagement, right? So that involves talking to your audience, engaging in the chat while you're doing the thing that you're doing. And for someone who's just starting out doing live streaming, I'm pretty sure it can prove challenging to engage their viewers while they're playing whatever game they're playing. And one thing that Sillykonpeito mentioned about Ragnarok Mobile that is kind of a boon to some players is that you're able to kind of basically put the game on autopilot, let it play itself, let your character grind on his or her own as you do something else. Given that, I feel like for a first-time streamer, Ragnarok Mobile might actually be the better option. it might be tempting to go for Ragnarok Classic for the novelty factor, in that a lot of people will probably pay attention to your stream because of the nostalgia factor. They'll be like, oh, Ragnarok Online, I used to play that so much when I was a kid. Let's check out what this person is doing in the game. But if you're not doing the stream well, those initial clicks aren't gonna amount to much if the actual content you're creating by streaming isn't actually fun. They'll just go watch some other person's stream of Ragnarok Classic. So if you were to start, I do feel like the better option would be going with Ragnarok M Eternal Love, so that you will have a bit of a more seamless experience actually doing a live stream and basically doing what I'm doing right now, being a host to a video and engaging with your audience. So Ragnarok Mobile for first-time live streamers. All right, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it once again. Please tune in next week, Wednesday, November 25, as we discuss one of my absolute favorite video game genres in the open world genre. We're going to be talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5, two of Rockstar Games' absolute monster hit titles with Sillykonpeito and Sketchy Jerry.